Well, welcome back to The Gamble, where we're looking to the Bible to uncover some of the bad bets that we in American culture kind of build our lives on, that we think work really great, that we think are true, we think are the way to go, but actually work against us. And welcome back also to Vegas. Last session, I was out at the Hoover Dam. Remember, that was the best Hoover Dam talk you ever heard, and that was great. But now we're back at the Cosmopolitan on a balcony overlooking all these crazy places in Vegas. And today we're talking about ambition. The bad bet is that life is really about what we attain, or life is about what we accomplish. And of course, you and I live in a very ambitious culture. And it's not that ambition is all bad. We're going to see that. There's good ambition and there's not so good ambition. It just depends on how we steer it. And in Vegas, you see that. Mostly you see the dark side of that. Because ambition, for one thing, if it's badly steered, if it's not driven by the right things, can actually be just a little bit silly if we base our sense of self and our ego and all of that on what we attain or what we accomplish. I know you walk around in these casinos, and the most interesting parts to me are like the high dollar tables and the high roller tables, and especially the nicer casinos like this one, where you feel like a big shot, right? You come in and in a nice car and some kind of sports car and nice clothes, and you've got pretty people around you, and they escort you to the VIP area, into the high dollar tables, and you feel like somebody in your suite and all that. And when you just kind of watch people that way, do some people watching, no better place in Vegas to do that, it's really kind of silly. And yet it's not like I'm immune to that or you're immune either. It's just silly when you see it with somebody else. Like I was thinking about that a little bit ago, how often I've been in situations that have just been silly ambition kind of stuff, like maybe in a pastor's conference where I'm the pastor of the largest church in the room, and there's just something inflating about that, which it is silly. Or I won a watch in a golf tournament sponsored by Breitling, and it's a very expensive watch, and just a couple times I've worn that, I feel like somebody, like I want to stretch, and let people see it at the restaurant or whatever, because it's just a watch. It's the stupidest thing ever, and ambition can be that way. But it can be worse than that, because ambition is also dangerous if it's badly steered, because we end up being driven somewhere we never want to end up, becoming people we never want to become, and we don't even know it's happening to us. It's like last night I was watching people play the slots, trying to figure out why people like this and why it's interesting. And you can see, right, just a little bit of gratification, a little bit of money won here, a little bit of money won there, and it keeps you going, it drives you, and you end up having spent a whole lot of money you never intended to spend, just because that's the game. It just drives you and drives you and drives you. And that's life too, if we're driven by the wrong things. That's ambition gone bad. But the Bible doesn't treat ambition as a bad thing. It's just, again, it can be good or bad. In fact, multiple times we're told to be ambitious. It's just what drives us. And so in your discussion, I want you to think a little bit about how can we shift from bad drivers to good drivers, and what are some of the good ones and what are some of the bad ones. I'm going to have you discuss two passages in the Bible where we're actually told to be ambitious that guide our ambition. The first one is in Philippians chapter 2. Paul says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others." He tells us to do nothing out of personal ambition, out of selfish ambition, but instead to be ambitious about others, to focus on others, not to lift self up, but others up. And imagine if we as believers started living that way, if we as just people started relating that way, where our ambition wasn't about self, it was about others, like at work, making sure other people get credit. At work, making sure other people are lifted up, making sure other people are encouraged. Or in marriage, where two people have an ambition to outserve the other, to outlove the other. Both needs are met. It's just they're focused on meeting the needs of the other person. Or imagine being the parent on the sports team or on the select sports team that isn't so much concerned about your kids' playing time as the playing time of everybody else. I mean, that would really change things, right? That would be really remarkable in a culture where we tend to be driven in our sin nature by selfish ambition. He says, do nothing out of selfish ambition, but actually have an ambition to lift other people up. The other passage I want you to discuss is in 1 Thessalonians 4. Paul says, make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. You should mind your own business and work with your hands, just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and so that you will not be dependent on anybody. He says, make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, which doesn't sound very ambitious, right? That's always been a confusing passage to me. Ambition's about being loud and proud, right? But he says, no, it's not. Make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, to do your work well, so much so that you just become a good person, to make it your ambition to be the kind of person that other people, especially those outside the faith, respect and want to know more about Jesus, just because you're kind of the kind of person that they would love to be. That's the right kind of ambition. So have a conversation about those two passages, what it might look like to be fueled by unselfish ambition, and what it would be like to be fueled by quiet ambition. Because ambition isn't bad, it's just, are we driven by the right things and are we going the right destination? Hope you have a great conversation.